Good morning, good morning, good morning. I want to welcome you to another segment of the Jermaine Brown Sports Talk Show. Today is Sunday, June the 28th, 2026. It's about almost 10 a.m. in the morning, Eastern Standard Time. Now, I was going to talk about some trades that was made, some recent moves that was made, like Julius Randle going to my Brooklyn Nets, which I'm happy about, and LaMelo Ball going from Charlotte to Minnesota. And I'm going to get to those, I promise. And what happened, some moves I like that took place in the draft and stuff. I'm going to get to that in another show. But I wanted to talk about this whole LeBron James situation that's going on right now with the Los Angeles Lakers. I never thought I would see the day that LeBron and his team is begging for the Lakers to resign him. Rich Paul has this podcast with Max Kellerman, and the videos have made the rounds where Rich Paul is basically stating that when a player brings so much value on and off the court, you want to keep him. Now you want loyalty. You want these teams, particularly the Lakers, to show you loyalty. When the one thing that LeBron never showed throughout his career was loyalty. You want examples? Well, let's go back to 2010. Here, remember, Cleveland drafts you in 2003. And in 2010, when you decided to become a free agent, you didn't just leave the Cleveland Cavaliers. What you left them on bad terms. You left and you didn't even give them the heads up that you were leaving. Which, and when I say them, I'm referring to the owner, which led to Dan Gilbert writing that article. And he was wrong for what he said, but it still does not escape the fact that when you leave an organization, you give 2 weeks notice. You at least give a heads up that you plan on leaving. You don't just up and leave an organization. Okay, you give the heads up that this is what you plan on doing. So you left Cleveland on bad terms, and don't think all these owners don't remember that. They didn't forget this. And just like how there's a fraternity amongst players, there's a fraternity amongst owners too. In all these sports, there's a fraternity. They might fight with each other, they might not get along, but at the end of the day, they're a collective. Then you go to Miami and you went up there the first day you went to Miami, not one, not two, not three, not four, not five, not six, not seven, but 8 championships. And you only brought them two. But more importantly, you decided you wanted to abandon them and you didn't give them the heads up. Except you did it a little different than you did it from Cleveland, because at least you told Pat Riley on the plane as you was heading to Cleveland that you wasn't coming back. But you don't even give your best friend Dwayne Wade, who is part of the Banana Boat. And for those who doesn't know, the Banana Boat is four guys: LeBron, not Chris Bosh, sorry, Chris Paul, Dwayne Wade, and Carmelo Anthony. They're known as the Banana Boat. They're supposed to be four best friends. And you didn't give your boy Dwayne Wade the heads up that you was leaving after Dwayne Wade decided to take a pay cut for you to stay, to make certain that they could keep building a team around you. So you allowed Dwayne Wade to lose money when you could have just told Dwayne you wasn't going back to Miami, that you was going to go back home to Cleveland, which then Dwayne Wade wouldn't have taken that pay cut. So you cost Dwayne Wade $10 to $20 million of his career earnings because you couldn't communicate that, hey, you know what? I'm going to go back home. So you left Miami on bad terms. You showed no loyalty to Cleveland in 2010. You showed no loyalty to Miami in 2014. 4 years later, then you go back home to Cleveland, and this theory that, oh, him and Dan Gilbert had to make up and all this other stuff, and there was that. They had to have a discussion and all that. But let me explain something to you. If LeBron didn't want to go back home to Cleveland, and because he saw an opportunity to win a championship in Cleveland. Let's see, LeBron's not a stupid individual, folks. LeBron saw a championship to win it. I mean, a chance to win a championship in Cleveland. So he said, "Let me go back home to my hometown." That's the reason why they made up. Okay. So now I don't want to hear about no more risk between him and Dan Gilbert. So that he wins his championship in Cleveland. And in 2018, he decides once Kevin Durant hooked up with Golden State and he saw that, and then Kyrie asked out of Cleveland, he decided, well, you know what? He's going to leave Cleveland himself and go to LA. And folks, he didn't go to LA to win titles, but the reason why LA brought him in was to win titles. That's the reason why LA brought you in here. They opened up the cap room to make certain that you would come here so you can win titles. That's LA. That's why I didn't want him in LA. That's one of the reasons I didn't want him in LA. I said, don't go to LA, not to the Lakers, because their titles are going to be demanded. And you was going to a conference that was considered so much tougher than the Eastern Conference. But LeBron didn't listen to me. Obviously, I'm not important enough. So he didn't listen to me when I said, you do not want to go to the Lakers. Because what you did in Miami and Cleveland will not be tolerated with the Lakers. They're going to get tired of you. Okay? And so he goes to the Lakers in 2018, 29, after the 2018 season. To 2019, he goes to the Lakers. And all you did was bring one championship, and it was a bubble championship at that. One. And it was a bubble championship. A championship that even the players, even Anthony Davis recently said he doesn't feel like he's a champion. Yes, he got a ring, but remember that was a championship where they had to take some weeks off, some months off because of the the COVID-19 virus and stuff like that, and nobody wanted to play. So you won a championship that nobody wanted to be in because there was no fans. Even it was even reported that LeBron even complained that this is not real basketball. So LeBron, everyone knows that title is bogus, but you got a title. But they were looking, but what LA is looking for is multiple championships. And you did not bring that. And remember, not every legend retired a Laker. Remember, and let's go back. Let's go back. If we look at history, let's look at Shaquille O'Neal. Now, Shaquille O'Neal brought more value to the Lakers than you ever brought to the Lakers. He helped bring the Lakers 3 championships in the early 2000s. But when a fight came down between him and Kobe Bryant, what did Jim Buss do? He had a choice he had to make. He had to choose Kobe Bryant or Shaquille O'Neal. He said, I would rather move, and he moved he moved Shaquille O'Neal. He chose Kobe Bryant. He got rid of the most dominant big man in the game at that time, who was still in his prime. He said, I'd rather move off of him than move off of Kobe Bryant. Because why? Kobe was drafted by the Lakers, where Shaq wasn't. And number two, and this is even just as important, Kobe was younger than Shaquille O'Neal. And number three, and this is just as important, Shaq was no longer in the same shape as he was when he got to LA. So when you take those three things into account, it was not hard for the Lakers to choose Kobe Bryant over Shaquille O'Neal. Now, why is that important? Because LeBron wants the Lakers to choose him over Luka, and that's not going to happen. When the Lakers traded for Luka, that signaled the beginning of the end for LeBron. And LeBron's a smart individual. He should have saw the writing was on the wall because Luka didn't ask to come to LA. Luka didn't want to be traded. He loved Dallas. He didn't want to be traded. He didn't ask to come to LA. But Dallas traded him to LA. And everybody wants to blame Nico Harrison for that. Nico Harrison didn't make that trade, folks. The owners made that trade. That came from ownership. The directive was to move Luka Doncic because Luka was overweight and they didn't want to pay him that super max of $300 million. And I don't blame Dallas Mavericks for doing such a thing. I was not him giving Luka that money either. But this is not about Luka in Dallas, the Dallas part of Luka, but the LA part of Luka. When Luka came to LA to appease him, because he never wanted to play with LeBron James, but they had to appease him. So they said, look, just be cool into 2026. Because why? Why is 2026 important? Because if you listen to the media, they'll tell you, well, it's so they can start building the team around you, Luka. And that is true. But the media didn't tell you the other part, which was just as important. 2026 was when LeBron James was going to become an unrestricted free agent. And see, after the 2024-2025 season, when the Lakers refused to extend LeBron James, LeBron should have saw the writing was on the wall that the Lakers were going to move off of him because no team, folks, when you have a superstar, every team wants to extend that superstar. I don't care what sport it is, baseball, basketball, football, hockey, doesn't matter. When you have a superstar, an elite player, you never want that player to go into the final year of their contract. Because if they go into the final year of their contract, they become an unrestricted free agent. And that means you're going to have a bidding war, and you're going to most likely lose that bidding war. So what teams always do is they try to extend you. Now, what LeBron always would do, which was smart of him, he would always have in his clause, in his contracts, a clause that was basically saying that he has what is called a player's option. He never will allow the team to have the team option. It would always be a player's option. So he would either opt in or opt out. So he would usually opt out of his contract and become an unrestricted free agent. He did that with Cleveland not once but twice. He did that with Miami. But with LA, he never dared opt out of his contract. He always opted into his contract. But this time, the Lakers said, okay, when he opted in, he was looking for the extension. They said, we're not going to extend you. So that should have been writing on the wall that 2026, 2025, 26 is going to be his last season with the Lakers. That should have told him that. And instead of him being wise to say, okay, I can see the Lakers don't want me back after the 2026 season, let me go on my retirement tour, which would have been smart to announce your retirement tour this past season. And though he claims he doesn't want that, he wants that. Because every great player wants a retirement tour. They want to go on all these cities and get their flowers or how great they were and all this other stuff. Every player wants to have that, what they call that retirement tour. But he did not do that. He was hoping and hoping, by hope, that the Lakers would change their mind and give him a new contract. Because he wanted to retire. He wants to retire on his terms. And see, when LeBron chose to come to LA, and this was another reason, as I'm a Nets fan, but I also root for the Lakers. Because why? I like the Lakers. I've always liked the Lakers. They're my West Coast team. I always have an East Coast team and a West Coast team in sports. That's just the way it works with me for the most part. Baseball's the only sport where I only have an East Coast team, which is the Mets. But in hockey, I got the East Coast Islanders, Montreal, and in the West Coast, it's the Edmonton Oilers. And basketball, it's the Nets, the Brooklyn Nets, Jersey Nets, Long Island Nets, whatever you want to call them, and the Los Angeles Lakers. In football, I'm a Jets and 49ers fan. So it's, West East Coast and the West. I have an East Coast and a West Coast team. Now that's not what's important, but here's what's important. I knew that when LeBron James chose to go to LA in 2019, it was to go there. He was going there not so much about winning titles. He was going there to build his brand and for lifestyle. I knew that this is it wasn't about winning a championship, because if it was about winning championships, he would have stayed in the East where he was ruling with the Cleveland Cavaliers. He would have stayed in the East. He did not do that. So he chose to go to LA. And so I'm not surprised at what's happening here. So LA refused to extend his contract after the 24-25 season, which means he was coming into the 25-26 season as an unrestricted free agent after the season. Then on top of that, during the season, Rich Paul going to make this sly little comment to Max Kellerman, because they got this podcast together, that Austin Reeves should come off the bench, and talking about Austin Reeves' money, because Austin Reeves coming off the bench is not as valuable as Austin Reeves as a starter. Bench players don't make the same amount of money as a starting player does. That's why, as a player, they tend want to be starters, because you make more money. So you're affecting this man's money. And Austin Reeves' agent confronted Rich Paul during a game or after a game or something like that, basically saying, "Hey, bro, don't do that. Keep your mouth shut. Don't be talking about my man and his money." And then LeBron James tried to distance himself. Oh, Rich Paul is speaking for himself. No, he isn't, dogs. He's speaking for you. He's your agent. He works for you. You don't work for Rich Paul. Rich Paul works for you. So my question is, did you fire Rich Paul? No. Did you discipline Rich Paul? No. So then that means this is what you wanted. That was the message you wanted out. This reminds me of the time when the great Jerry Rice, a legend, a Hall of Famer, his agent sent out a memo to each team begging them to sign Jerry Rice. Then Jerry Rice tried to come out and say, "Oh no, my agent did that on his own." And like my cousin Sean, God rest his soul, said, "Did you fire that agent? Did you discipline that agent for making those statements? For putting out that letter?" No. So that means that he had your blessing to do that. But because of the backlash that people say, "Yo, why are you begging?" It makes you look bad. Now you want to distance yourself from it. Don't do that. Well, now Rich Paul and LeBron is doing the same thing. They're begging the Lakers. But the Lakers throughout the season told you this was going to be your last year, most likely in LA. When they refused to extend you. Then on top of that, during the season, LeBron James breaks Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's scoring the most points in NBA history list, And he did it in LA, if I remember correct. I forgot what game it was, but I'm pretty certain it was in LA when he broke the record. And after the game, the Lakers did not present LeBron James with a game ball. They presented JJ Redick with a game ball because the Lakers won that game. So that allowed JJ Redick to get his 100th victory of his coaching career. And LeBron James was miffed. And I can understand why you're miffed because here you just broke a very significant record and the team didn't even honor you with a game ball. They gave it to the head coach. So I can understand why you're miffed. I would have been miffed too. And that was not the writing on the that wasn't enough writing on the wall to tell you that they no longer wanted you around. Then here was another writing on the wall. LeBron has always been the first option. At worst, maybe the second option, because when he went to Miami, Dwayne Wade at times might have been the first option, and they had to work that out. But the one thing LeBron has never been was a third option. This past season, and LeBron let it be known after they got eliminated by the OKC Thunder, he didn't like being a third option. But that's what he became. Because why? Luka was the first option, and this undrafted player who has made himself into a very good player, by the way, in Austin Reeves, became the second option, which means that they asked LeBron to be the third option, and LeBron did not like that. What they're telling you, buddy, now you go from being a one option, a 1A, to the third option on the team. That's telling you the team doesn't really want you anymore. You no longer hold value. And now he is basically begging that they offer him a contract. He knows he's not getting max money. He knows this, even though him and his people try to put out that they want the max. He knows they're not getting the max, but that's a negotiation ploy. He's willing to take whatever the Lakers offer him. The problem is the Lakers have not offered him anything. And June 30th is the last day that the Lakers could offer him something without him going into free agency. See, because right now they still technically own his rights until June 30th. So it's not like some other team that signed LeBron before June 30th. June 30th is only 2 days away, folks. And the fact that the Lakers have not even entered into contracting discussions with him, they're panicking because the Lakers have already offered and took care of Austin Reeves. They made certain Austin Reeves never hit the free agency market, which starts in 2 days, because they knew that Detroit, Brooklyn, and some other teams were coming. And they did not want that. So they wanted to make certain they took care of Austin Reeves. And remember, this is what Luka wanted. Now, again, I do not believe in players dictating to the team what they want. In other words, being the GM. But that's what they do in the NBA, especially in the NBA. The players are like the GM. They like playing GM. They just don't like taking the blame when things go wrong. That's why I think they make lousy GMs. Okay, but and I said that on a previous podcast. But so the Lakers is acquiescing to what Luka wants, and Luka made it be known that he wants Austin Reeves. And remember, at the end of the season, Luka let it be known he wants Austin Reeves back. And when the media asked him about LeBron James, he just said, "No comment. We'll see." That's a nice way of saying I don't want him back. Because if Luka wanted LeBron James back, he would say, I'm expecting us to re-sign Austin Reeves and LeBron James. But he did not say that. He said, I want Austin Reeves back. He didn't say I want Austin Reeves and LeBron James back. He said I want Austin Reeves back. So by excluding LeBron, and that's telling you that he does not want LeBron James back. And you cannot have two agendas. If the agenda is building around Luka, you have to build around Luka. You can't build around Luka and have LeBron James on the team. That's just not going to work, because it's going to always be about LeBron James. It's not going to be about Luka. That's the reality. LeBron James sucks the oxygen out of the room. He just does. Intentionally, unintentionally, it doesn't matter. He sucks the oxygen out of the room. And so the reality is, that's why when I keep hearing, and I heard Ramona Shelburne, and she reports for the Lakers, or LA, but the Lakers, she made this asinine comment, this ridiculous comment, this naive, like, oh, it's easier for LeBron to move on from the Lakers than it is for the Lakers to move on from move away from LeBron. That's not true. In what world do you think it's easier for an employee to move away from an organization than it is for an organization to move on from an employee? When you say that, that makes you. It means that the player or the employee is bigger than the organization, and that's not true. The Los Angeles Lakers, folks, prior to LeBron's arrival, won 16 championships. Okay, when we talk, and we're talking just American sports. We're not talking about sports or sports worldwide. We're just talking in American sports. There's only what, four major brands. When we talk about, when it comes to team sports, four major brands: the Yankees, the Cowboys. Well, let's say six major brands. These are the six biggest brands. Okay, I'll even go seven. Seven biggest brands in all of Team American sports. United States sports. Yankees. I'm not going to include hockey into this because then now you're bringing in Canada as a brand, which is the Montreal Canadiens. So I'm not going to bring. I'm just talking about your American sports, United States sports. You have the Yankees, the Cowboys, the Celtics, the Packers, the Steelers, and the Knicks. Okay? The Yankees, the Lakers, the Yankees, the Celtics, the Cowboys, the Packers, the Steelers, and the Knicks. Those are the seven biggest brands in all of United States American sports. Those are the seven biggest brands. They were the seven biggest brands before LeBron got to LA. They'll be the seven biggest brands after LeBron leaves LA. You see where I'm going with this, folks? The LA never needed LeBron. They wanted LeBron. They never needed LeBron. And see, LeBron is not looking at this holistically. He's looking at this selfishly. What do I mean? LeBron could have the perfect storybook ending, but he doesn't see the bigger picture. The storybook ending is for him to retire as a Cleveland Cavalier. His home, he lives, he's from Akron, which is like 50, 60. Let me see. If I remember correct, give me 1 second, because I want to be accurate when I make this statement. It's almost 40 miles. It's 40 miles. It's a 40-mile drive. It's 40 miles from Akron to Cleveland. So Cleveland is your hometown. You was drafted there. So you started your career in Cleveland. You left Cleveland, you went to Miami, you won titles in Miami, you went back home to Cleveland midway through your career, and you helped bring them a 10, the most improbable title in NBA history, because you did something historically that has never been done. You came back from a 3 games to 1 deficit in the finals. No team has ever done that and won the finals. Now you have a chance to do something that even the great Michael Jordan couldn't do. Go back home and retire with your home team. Because remember, when Michael Jordan left Chicago, he ended up retiring as a Wizard, retiring with the Wizard, not with Chicago. He didn't have that luxury of retiring in Chicago. Chicago no longer wanted him. And this was after Chicago. He helped bring Chicago 6 championships. But Chicago told the great Michael Jordan, kick rocks. And Chicago is not the brand LA is. It's not the brand LA is, folks. It's not the brand that the Lakers are. They're not. I mean, they're a big brand, but they're not the brand that the Lakers are. They're just not. And so you have a chance to retire with the Cleveland Cavaliers. So, in my opinion, the Lakers are doing you a favor by not offering you a new contract. You're just not smart enough to see it. What you should do is go to Dan Gilbert and say, listen, I'll play for that 13 million, 10 million, 13 million, whatever you have left on your cap. Let me retire a Cavalier. Cleveland would do it because you helped bring them what? A title. So it's not like you're coming in at the end of your career after you left, you know, at the beginning of your career or towards the beginning of your career, and then you never came back. If you had never came back, if I'm Cleveland, I don't want you now. But the fact that you helped come back, you came back, you helped bring us a title. Okay, I'll let you retire a Cavalier. But if I'm the Lakers, I don't want you. Now the media's trying to push him to Miami. If I'm Pat Riley, why do I want you now? When I had you, you jumped the first chance you had. You're the reason I had to go now and gut the team to go get a Giannis Antetokounmpo. Because had you stayed on the Miami Heat, I would have had to go and give up a whole treasure trove of players and draft picks for Giannis Antetokounmpo. It would have been easier to just build a team around you. But now, because you chose to leave, and I never got that elite player ever again, I had to force to gut my team to get Giannis. I don't want you now at the end of your career if I'm Pat Riley. Now I might end up having to bring you on because I need to fill out a roster spots, but I'm not giving you big money to do so. Nobody is opening up roster spots or big money to bring in LeBron. No one's going to do that. You out of your mind if you think that's going to happen. That's not going to happen. You're going to have to fit into whatever salary slot that somebody have you that they have available. Oh, have how the mighty have fallen. Yeah, there was once a time when teams would gut their roster to make certain that they have cap space to sign you. Now that's no longer the case because you're 41 years old. You no longer have the value you once did. And so now June 30th is coming up in 2 days, and the Lakers have not talked to you about a contract. That means they don't intend to. And now his team is understanding that they're panicking. Like, hello, we're still here. Offer us a contract. We'll take it. Basically, we'll take anything. Now you're begging. You're desperate. Nobody likes someone who's desperate. Come on, B. And if I'm the Lakers, I'm not offering you a contract. I'm going 100% down the Luka route. The Lakers was telling you this. Did you not pay attention? So I'm not surprised that the Lakers is treating you this way. Because the Lakers never looked at you as a real Laker. You haven't brought anything to the Lakers. You had Stephen A. Smith make this asinine, silly comment that, oh, prior to LeBron, nobody was watching the Lakers when they were terrible. That's not true. The Lakers were still on national TV. See, there's three brands that no matter how bad they are, they're gonna be on national TV. Four brands. No matter how bad they are, they're gonna be on national TV. The Yankees, the Lakers, the Cowboys, the Knicks. They're going to be on national TV no matter how bad they are. Because why? They bring the most viewership. They bring the most viewership. That's the reality. No matter what arenas you go into, in football, no matter where you go, you're going to find Cowboy fans. No matter where they go, you're going to find Cowboy fans. Anywhere you go. In baseball, anywhere you go, you're going to find Yankee fans. Anywhere you go. Anywhere you go in basketball, you're going to find Laker fans and you're going to find Knicks fans. Anywhere you go, they bring viewership, they bring eyeballs. Those are the most talked about brands in all of sports. And I'm talking about North American, USA sports. They're the most talked about brands. They bring the most ratings. That's why they all being talked about. They bring the most ratings. There's a reason why the media talks about those particular brands. And so I can understand why LeBron wants to retire as a Laker. Because why? That's one of the biggest brands in sports, in American sports. But the problem is the Lakers don't give a darn about your retirement. They care about what you bring for them, and you really didn't bring anything for them. So they don't want you anymore. We got Luka. Luka is the new flavor of the month, not you. So why do I need to cater to you anymore? Go home. You can have that storybook ending. Cleveland is the storybook ending. Not Golden State, not Miami, not Detroit, basketball. Those are not the storybook endings. Not LA. The storybook ending is Cleveland. You started your career in Cleveland. You bookended the middle portion of your career was in Cleveland. You won a title there. And then now you finish your career in Cleveland. That is a storybook ending that very few athletes can ever state that they've achieved. But yet you're begging LA, the Lakers, to re-sign you. How dumb can you be? I want to thank you for watching another segment of the Jermaine Brown Sports Talk Show. If you like this, give me a thumbs up, subscribe, leave comments, let me know what you think. Hey, I'm not always right. Sometimes I make predictions and I was wrong. Oh, and before I leave, I'm going to say this to Kevin Durant. Bro, don't throw shade on the Knicks and Jalen Brunson. There was no need to do that. Jealousy is ugly, bro. When the Knicks wanted you, they wasn't a cool brand for you. Now, when you want the Knicks and the Knicks tell you no and they win without you, Now you want to throw shade? Come on, dude. You're better than that. Or excuse me, I thought you was better than that. But it just shows me how childish you really are. Anyway, I want to thank you for watching this segment of the Jermaine Brust Post Talk Show. Again, and the next time we're going to talk about those other trades, I'll come out with another video on those other trades that took place around the league. Okay, remember this, folks. You're never bigger than the organization. Never think you're bigger than the organization. You're not. You're just a cog in the wheel, and you can't be replaced. And LeBron is finding that out the hard way. He's replaceable. Thank you. Have a nice day.